Hi there, this is Dilip, and today I'm going to show you how to create a RESTful web service using Spring Boot. In this series, I'll just create one RESTful web service and show you the demo. For the starting purpose, I have created one RESTful web service already, and I'll just show you how it works. So I've just opened one Postman, and here I'll just do one thing. I'll use http colon localhost 8080 and books. So as you can see, it is returning two books. The first book name is name 1 and the second book name is name 2. So let's start it now. What I'll do, I'll just delete everything from this project and then I'll create from the scratch. So let's delete it first. And also delete from the directory as well. So the project was in Git and Spring Boot REST. So I'll delete everything from here and start from the scratch. So since it's a Spring project, so I'll just use the Spring Initializer website, which is start.spring.io. Here you can actually get all the startup things, ready-made things, so that you can start coding directly. So here I'm using artifact name is Spring Boot REST, and the package name is com.adv, and the name is Spring Boot. And here what I need to do, since we need to create one RESTful web service, so the web module is required. So I'm just adding this and then click on generate. It will create one zip file. Let's open it, and it will have all the prerequisite. Just copy it. And one more thing, here I'm using Maven with Java 8. You can change here if it is required, and also if you want to create jar or var. So now we have two options in Spring Boot. You can go with var, which is the old version, and with jar, which is the latest version. Even you can deploy the jar in the container as well. And the build tool I am using here is Maven. So let's start. So this is the thing that is created with the Spring Initializer. I'll just copy it and I'll paste in my project that I'm going to use. Let's copy this, import in the Eclipse using existing Maven project, and finish. So it will import the project that we have created, and it will import all the jars, download all the jars, and then it will be ready for the use. So now we have all things ready. So let's start it. So let's go one by one. Here, this is the startup class that Spring Boot Initializer creates when we actually do here. So here it is actually having Spring Boot application annotation. So this will actually initialize everything required to run the Spring Boot application. Now let's see the pom.xml. So in the pom.xml, as we use the name Spring Boot REST, so it is taking the same. And this is the demo project for Spring Boot. Let's make it Spring Boot REST. And the Java version is 1.8. And this is a dependency that we added, Spring Boot startup web, and this is specific to test cases, so I'll skip this for now. So let's save it, and this let's clean and run it. Great, so we have cleaned the project. Now let's install it. Maven install. Great. So it is actually completed, and where there is no error, we have built successful. That is great. So let's start this and see if it is working properly. So to start the Spring Boot project, you need to run actually the class which is having the main method and this annotation. So in this case, since it is in this class, so I'll just right click and run as Java application. Simple. So how it goes actually, Spring Boot has auto configuration, so it checks all the available jars in the home.xml, and it actually auto configure the things. So by default it uses Tomcat to create the server, so it runs on Tomcat, on the top of on Tomcat. You can see here it is the Tomcat is started on port 8080, and also the Spring Boot application. So everything is working fine. Now let's focus on creating the RESTful web service. So in order to create any control RESTful or any MVC, we need to create one controller in Spring. So let's do the same thing. I'll just create one book controller, and this book controller is created. Now to make it controller, we can use @controller, but there is one new thing which is REST controller. So let's use it. REST controller. REST controller. If you go inside the REST controller, it is actually an annotation, and then Spring will use this annotation to create the RESTful web service. And if you see here, this is also using the controller. So ultimately it is a wrapper. Now let's start our actual working. So the first RESTful web service would be to get all the books available. So let's create it. It will be list of book, and it will be new array list. So now since we have created and we'll use Java util array list. Now since we don't have, actually this is not the thing that we need to, we will create our own book. So let's create the book class. Finished. So this book class will have one attribute name. That's it. Let's also create the getter setters. Go to source and then the getter setter. Select the name. Oh, it's completed. Great. So now we have a book class that we can use. And here, if you see, Spring actually automatically take care of everything if you use the. So what it will do actually, I'll just put inside. So done. Let's create now methods. Get books, and it will not take anything. It should return list of books. So let's do it. Now here I'll just add two books. This dot books dot add new book, and here I'll use book 1 and book 2. Now if you see, it is complaining that there is no constructor which will take the parameterized string. So let's create it. So now we have created one constructor that will take the parameter as string, and I'll just set it with this dot name equals to name. And there should be, whenever you create a parameterized constructor, is always good to have the default as well. This is best practice. So everything is done. Now we are good with book. So let's go back to controller. And now if you see, the warning is gone. Now we have created the book object list of books, and we have added some books here. Let's say it book 1, book 2, and let's also take it inside just for the simplicity inside here. So it is now simply books because it is not the part of class. So and then return books. That's all. So what we are doing here, we are actually returning two books when calling get books. Now let's map it with some RESTful path. So let's use uh, get get mapping get mapping get mapping. I guess you have must have seen the request mapping. The get mapping is actually, if you see, if I go inside get mapping, oh, one second, name, path, sorry. So it will have the path, and the path will, let's say it is books. So it is fine. Okay. What is the problem with this method? Set method and type to void. Because why it is void? Because it is git mapping. I think there is something is messing up. So I'll just let me clear it, and then control F, everything is fine. And this is a method, and what we will do, we will have get mapping, and inside the get mapping we will have path, path equals to slash books. I think this is having some problem, and the problem is okay. So it seems like I have done something wrong. So let me debug it. Uh, Set method as void. If I do this, oh, I got it. This is very simple thing. I forget to actually use the annotation. So silly mistake. Leave it. So now we are good. If I go inside and see what is there, oh, so this is name, not the path. So name will have this. So let's use it. Okay, so now we are good to go. So let's start the project and test it. Okay, so everything is done. Let's test it again. So if I hit on this, so we will see we have now book 1 and book 2. Let's do one more thing. Let's add one more book and see if it is actually working. 3. Uh, let's start the server. Okay, the server is started on port 8080 and application is also started. So let's try it again. So this time if we do it, it should return 3 books. Great, so it is working fine. One more thing, if we do here some post request or something, then it should return some error. Oh, so this method is not allowed because we have not actually added any method here. So this will only entertain the get request. Yeah, thank you for watching.